I am 27-year-old female and my husband is a 32-year-old male. We are on holidays with our 4-year-old son and 3-year-old daughter. I am also 6 months pregnant with twins. We are visiting my family in my hometown. As my dad and stepmom live in a small 2-bedroom unit, we chose to stay in a motor inn owned by family friends. We got a really good deal on a 3-bedroom townhouse for the week. While here, we plan on taking our kids to the zoo, soft play center, adventure park, and a couple of school holiday programs, as well as catching up with family and friends. My stepsister, who is 28 years old and a single mom, lives half an hour away with her 3 kids, a 10-year-old son, a 6-year-old son, and a 3-year-old daughter. Upon hearing that we're coming to town, my stepsister automatically assumed she could dump her kids on us. They turned up at my stepmom and dad's place where we were having lunch while waiting to check into the hotel. She tried to leave her kids with us, saying that her kids haven't got to do anything fun these holidays. We have plenty of room in the townhouse. It's good for my kids to learn to be nicer to kids that aren't as privileged as them, etc. We refused, and my stepsister then started yelling about how we're selfish for not including them, how it's unfair that we can afford to go on holidays and do fun things that our kids probably won't remember. She thinks we should be supportive of her and more sympathetic to how hard it is for her being a single mom. She also believes it's time I step up as her sister and pull my weight instead of expecting my dad and stepmom to always pick up the slack with helping out with her kids. I ended up getting pissed off and yelling back that her kids aren't our responsibility. We have our own kids to worry about, and it's not my fault that she can't be bothered to get a job. It's also not my fault she keeps having kids she can't afford or take care of. We ended up leaving, and luckily we were able to check in early. My stepmom and sister, along with some friends and family, have been blowing up my phone saying I'm in the wrong since we are in a financial situation where we can afford to have the kids with us. They believe my stepmom could be around for a few hours each day to help, so we should help out. My husband and dad agree with me, while also acknowledging that I might have been a bit harsh in the argument. So am I the jerk for not including my niece and nephews in our holiday? Mixing up mom and stepdad. Sorry it's late. Update. My stepsister saw my post, doesn't have the guts to comment though. She turned up at our hotel and tried to cause problems. Luckily, the manager put a stop to it and she has been banned. I have told my stepsister and stepmom that I need to focus on my family and I won't be entertaining any more of their nonsense. I have enough to get an IVO if need be. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but all this drama was the last straw with my dad. He's staying with us until we leave, and our friends at the hotel have offered him very cheap accommodation until he sorts out the next step. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot how many of these friends and family members are taking the kids and paying for them to do fun things. Tell them you'd like to see them do it first since they believe others should pay for her kids. Comment 2. Not the idiot there's a difference between having your kids included and pawning them off, and if she's not joining in anything, she's just pawning them off. Now for the update, thanks for all the comments on my last post. Here's what's been going down since then. The day after my stepsister got banned from our hotel, my dad's health took a nosedive. He's got this heart condition, see, and stress is like poison to him. So there he was staying with us, trying to keep away from the drama when he collapsed. We rushed him to the hospital and the doctors said it was a minor heart attack. Minor or not, it scared the life out of us. While Dad was in the hospital, my stepmom showed up, all tears and apologies. She said she was sorry for everything and that she didn't mean to cause any trouble. But then she slipped in that she needed us to take care of my stepsister's kids because she wanted to stay with Dad at the hospital. My husband and I were torn. We were angry, sure, but seeing Dad like that, we couldn't just turn our backs on family. So we said yes. The kids came over and it was chaos. Our holiday plans, out the window. The zoo, the adventure park, all of it had to be put on hold. We were running on fumes, trying to keep all the kids happy, and my stepsister's kids, they're a handful. They've got a lot of energy and not a lot of manners, if you know what I mean. Then in the middle of this mess, my stepsister shows up at the hospital. She's got this sob story about how she's trying to change, how she's looking for a job, and how she's sorry for dumping her kids on us. She's crying, saying she wants to be there for Dad, and I'm watching all this thinking, yeah, right. But here's the kicker. My dad, lying there with tubes coming out of him, he forgives her. just like that. He tells her he loves her and that we're all family. And I'm standing there feeling like the world's biggest jerk because I can't let go of my anger. I'm watching my dad, who should be resting, comforting my stepsister, and it's like a punch to the gut. The next day, we're back at the hotel, trying to salvage what's left of our holiday, when my stepsister turns up again. This time, she's got a job interview lined up, and she's asking if we can watch her kids again. My husband and I, we're at our breaking point. We've got our own kids, I'm pregnant with twins, and we're exhausted. But we say yes, because that's what you do for family, right? The job interview goes well, and my stepsister lands the job. She's over the moon, thanking us for helping her out. And I want to be happy for her, I really do, but I can't shake this feeling of resentment. It's like she's getting a free pass after all the trouble she's caused. But then, the day before we're supposed to leave, my stepsister does something unexpected. She shows up with tickets to the adventure park for all of us, including her kids. She says it's her way of saying thank you, that she's sorry for everything. And I'm standing there looking at these tickets, and I realize I have a choice. I can hold on to my anger, or I can let it go and try to enjoy the last day of our holiday. So we go to the adventure park. And you know what? It's not so bad. The kids are laughing, running around, and for a moment, it feels like things are okay. My stepsister is trying, really trying, and I can see that. And when she looks at me with genuine gratitude in her eyes, I forgive her. Not because it's easy, but because holding on to that anger is only going to hurt me in the end. We leave the next day, and it's like we can all breathe again. My dad's out of the hospital, staying at the hotel with our friends, and he's got this new lease on life. He's talking about finding a place of his own, about starting fresh. And my stepsister, she's got her job, and she's making plans for her and her kids. It's not a perfect ending. There's still a lot of healing to do, a lot of trust to rebuild. But it's a start, and sometimes that's all you can ask for. Thanks for reading. My husband thinks playing Dungeons and Dragons is a chore. So I show him what real work looks like and write a best-selling novel first. I, 35 years old female, and my husband, 35 years old male, have been together for 10 years, blissfully happy, no issues. Over Infection 19, we got into Dungeons and Dragons. We have a weekly game that runs from 3 to 4 hours with 3 other friends. 5 of us have been going on adventures for the past few years, meeting consistently over Zoom. I've been having a great time overall. My husband is the DM, Dungeon Master, which means he does a lot of work preparing the sessions. This includes coming up with the characters we are going to have conversations with, figuring out the battles we are going to fight, and so on. I really appreciate his work. On the other hand, I've been feeling like I'm doing more chores in our partnership. I cook a lot, clean the kitchen, help with the laundry, do most of the driving. We tried splitting chores before. There was a period where he would fold laundry or do cleaning while I cooked, but it didn't last beyond a week or two. I normally don't particularly mind, but life has been especially difficult lately due to health issues in the family, and I think it has put extra stress on us. So the other day I cooked dinner. During dinner, he was giving me a sneak peek of the magical items he made for the blacksmith in the new town, and I guess I didn't look as excited, so he asked me why. I said, "I'll be excited when you clean up the kitchen after we are done eating." This started a major argument, and we really don't have many of those, so it was a bit intense about how I don't appreciate his work on this campaign. I countered by saying he's free to work on his hobbies as much as he wants, but it's not the same thing as helping me out with chores. To this, he countered that his work on this D&D campaign counts as a chore, just like cooking and cleaning. He said he provides a space for hanging out with our friends every week. In a way, he's organizing and scheduling our social life, and that it takes a lot of work. I thought this was an absolutely crazy perspective. This is where things escalated because I was sort of confused. I still am, and he got really hurt. He did say, "The fact that you're asking this shows you don't understand how much work I put into this campaign." For the record, I did run a leg of the campaign as the DM for a few weeks, and it was a lot of work. But it was a hobby, at least to me. It was a fun thing I chose to do, not something I needed to do, like a chore. He pointed out that I don't need to cook either. We can afford to eat out every night and hire a cleaning service for sorting out the apartment. He's not wrong, we can afford it. But it still felt strange. I eventually let it go, but I feel like I am going to need some sort of resolution to this because I can feel the resentment building up inside me. I don't want to win an argument. I am not looking for vindication, but can someone give me insight into this conflict? Am I wrong? Am I being the jerk here? Thank you. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. So if he steps down as the DM, how would that make you feel? The rest of the group, would you be okay with it? It sounds like you enjoy this hobby just as much as he does. Are you willing to take on DM duties while also fulfilling your chores at home? Is anybody else in the group, and are you willing to give this hobby up if not? Leaning ESH, but also INFO. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Chores are necessary, non-negotiable things. Taking the trash out, grocery shopping, cleaning the bathroom, dishes. D&D is not a chore. It is something that he chooses to do for fun. Preparing for that is not a chore. He needs to grow up and understand that the work he puts in on it is his choice and how he is choosing to spend his free time. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around after my last post. So things took a turn for the worse. My husband and I had another blow-up, and it was about the same old thing, the chores. But this time, it wasn't just about the dishes or the laundry. It was about something bigger, something that made us question where we were heading. It all started when my sister got sick. She's been dealing with some serious health issues, and I've been trying to help out as much as I can. I've been driving her to doctor's appointments, picking up her meds, and just being there for her. It's been tough, and I've been stretched thin. My husband, he's been supportive, but he's also been wrapped up in his own world with the D&D campaign. One evening, I came back from my sister's place, exhausted and worried. I walked into a mess at home, dishes piled up, laundry unfolded, and there was my husband, deeply engrossed in his campaign notes. I lost it. I asked him why he couldn't have taken care of some chores while I was out, and that's when he dropped the bomb. He said he was thinking of quitting his job to focus on writing a fantasy novel, inspired by our D&D adventures. He was serious. He wanted to take this hobby and turn it into a career. I couldn't believe it. We had bills to pay, my sister's situation was draining our savings, and here he was ready to give up a steady income for a dream. I felt betrayed. Here I was juggling work, my sister's illness, and the household, while he was chasing a fantasy. It wasn't just about the chores anymore. It was about our future, our responsibilities, and our partnership. We argued for hours. I told him it wasn't the right time, that we needed stability. He said I wasn't supporting his dreams, that I didn't believe in him. It was rough. We went to bed angry, not talking. The next day I was still fuming, but I had to focus on my sister. She had a major surgery coming up, and I needed to be there for her. I left early in the morning, leaving my husband asleep. The surgery was long and stressful, but thankfully it went well. When I got back home, I braced myself for another round of arguments. But what I found stopped me in my tracks. The house was spotless. The dishes were done, the laundry was folded, and there was a note on the kitchen table. My husband had written that he realized how much I was doing for our family, and he was sorry for not seeing it sooner. He'd decided to put his novel on hold to focus on supporting me and my sister through this tough time. I was shocked. I didn't expect him to give up on his dream, but he did it for us, for our family. It was a gesture that showed me he understood the stakes, that he was willing to put our needs first. We talked it out that night. We agreed to revisit his novel idea when things settled down, and in the meantime, we'd work together to balance the chores and support each other. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. So that's where we are now. It's been a month of ups and downs, but we're getting through it together. Thanks for reading. My ex-boyfriend ditched our bowling date for an expensive night out and stuck me with the bill. So I exposed his lies and watched as his new girlfriend dumped him and came crawling back to me for forgiveness. Yesterday, my ex-boyfriend and I, who have been dating for a bit over 7 months, had plans to hang out. We planned to go bowling, so I got a Groupon and paid ahead. Before bowling, my boyfriend decided he wanted to go to a wine and cheese place. I pointed out how expensive it is, as I had just paid rent and my student loan payment, so I could not afford it. He assured me he wanted to go and he would pay for it. This was confirmed several other times. When we got there, I decided I wanted a little food because I hadn't eaten in a while after working all day. I said I wanted to get the $13 mac and cheese and I'd pay for it myself, but he said not to worry about it. He then proceeds to order a bottle of wine and 2 cheese boards, without my input on how much we should order. We proceed to have a really nice and enjoyable time together, I thought at least. At the end, when we get the bill, he tells me, does not ask, tells me to send him $60. I am a bit shocked and ask if he's serious. I point out that he insisted several times that he wanted to go here, and he would pay, as I don't have the money right now to spend on something like this. He gets very angry and says that this shows him who I really am. He continues saying that and says, what if I couldn't afford the tab? You wouldn't help me. I told him I obviously would help in a case like that, but he insisted on going here and paying and didn't even ask me to help. I pointed out that it was essentially a command, and he told me that if he tells me to do something, I should do it. My boyfriend pays, gets up and leaves, and I get up to follow and trail behind. He turned around as I was on my phone behind him and asked if I was ordering an Uber for myself. I said no, and he told me, I wish you were. This immediately makes me start crying, and I turn around and walk across the street to the nearest bench to sit down. He continues walking away and disappears. I get a call 5 minutes later and he asks where I am. I told him I went across the street to sit on the bench, and he said he doesn't see me, then immediately goes back into the argument. I try to explain my perspective again, and he ends up hanging up on me. He does not come back and does not contact me again. It was dark at this time, and he left me alone, drunk and crying on the street. We both live in a highly populated area. He didn't even check to see if I got home safe or anything. I texted him one time to point out how he completely ditched me and didn't even care to see if I got home safe. So he has made it clear that he doesn't care about me. Perhaps a bit dramatic? I don't think so, though. He just answers after a bit, "That's crazy." Okay, I have since blocked him. Am I the idiot for not helping to pay when he told me to? I know he will very likely see this. He told me a few times in the past to post our arguments on Reddit so that I'd see that I'm wrong. So all right, let's see this time. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot at all, especially because you ordered the mac and cheese within your means because you were willing to pay for it yourself. OP's ex-boyfriend, there's a special place in hell for people who lie and leave their girlfriend drunk and crying alone. Comment 2. Not the idiot, and thank heavens you only wasted 7 months. Your part of the bill was $13. He had said he would pay for everything else. You had told him you couldn't afford it. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So after that whole mess with my ex, things got even more twisted. I thought blocking him was the end of it, but nope. A couple of weeks later, I found out through a mutual friend that he'd been telling people I was the one who ditched him that night, and that I was the one being unreasonable about the whole money situation. Can you believe that? He twisted the story to make me look bad. But wait, it gets better. He started dating someone new like immediately. And guess who it is? My former best friend who knew everything that had happened between us. Talk about a betrayal. I was fuming, but I kept it cool on the outside. I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of seeing me upset. Then one day I ran into them at the grocery store. It was so awkward. They were all over each other, and she had the nerve to wave at me like nothing was wrong. I just rolled my eyes and walked away. But inside, I was boiling. Now here's where it gets really crazy. My ex's new girlfriend, my ex-best friend, reached out to me a few days later. She said she wanted to talk and clear the air. I agreed, thinking maybe she'd come to her senses. We met at a coffee shop and she started crying, saying she made a huge mistake and that my ex was now doing the same things to her that he did to me. She was looking for sympathy, but honestly, I was just sitting there thinking, I told you so. But I kept my cool and just listened. She kept going on about how she wanted to make things right between us. I didn't commit to anything, but I could see she was genuinely struggling. It was a weird feeling seeing her like that. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, my ex showed up at my place unannounced. He said he wanted to apologize and that he missed me. He claimed he realized he'd made a huge mistake and that he was willing to do anything to make it up to me. I was skeptical, to say the least, but there was a part of me that wondered if he was being sincere. I told him I needed time to think about it and sent him away. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing with all these thoughts. Was he really sorry? Could I ever trust him again? And what about my ex-best friend? She was clearly in a bad place because of him. The next day, I heard from another friend that my ex had been bragging about how he was going to win me back and that it was all just a game to him. That was the last straw. I realized then that he hadn't changed at all. He was still the same manipulative person I'd broken up with. I decided to confront him. I called him and told him I knew about his little game and that he could forget about ever getting back together with me. He tried to deny it, but I wasn't having any of it. I hung up and felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. But the drama didn't stop there. My ex-best friend reached out again, this time to tell me she'd broken up with him and that she was sorry for everything. She wanted to try and rebuild our friendship. I was hesitant, but I agreed to give her a chance. We're taking it slow, but it feels good to have her back in my life. As for my ex, I haven't heard from him since that last call, and honestly, I hope it stays that way. I'm done with his games and lies. I've got better things to focus on now, like my own happiness and the people who truly care about me. Thanks for reading this wild ride of an update. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.